All right, so I'm back after a couple of years here. It's been a couple of years. It's been a tough couple of years and a lot of upheaval in my life. I mean, I was literally living in a room above a garage for about a year and a half. So it was, basically like the Fonz there for a while. And there was actually a jukebox in the garage. So you can't make this stuff up. But my life's getting back on track now. Just things that happen in life, that you have to go through. And, I've been wanting to do videos, keep this channel going. I am not giving up on researching about Samantha. It's all, still there. And I even had grandiose ideas as we're coming up on the 40th anniversary of her plane crash. And it's very significant. It really is. And I had all these plans that I was going to, build up to talking about August 25th. Because August 25th is an extremely significant date. There's a lot to it, and I would love to talk about it. But at this point, like, I can bring it up, and I can't really go into the detail that I would want, because I'd have to really kind of build up to it. Because there's a lot to that date, a lot of esoteric stuff, and that's something I was going to talk about too. That, like, we live in a world that is very exoteric. Most people know just what they see and what's around them and what they're told, these kinds of things. But there is a whole other side to life that would be considered esoteric and more, I guess you would call it occult type of information. And occult just means, like, basically hidden, like, information that is not readily apparent. And the esoteric side of things is more in line with that, and these things go back to, the ancient wisdom and just knowledge, all of this stuff. It's a lot of numerology and symbology and all of that. And believe it or not, that plays a significant part in Samantha's life and what happened to her. And the date August 25th itself is extremely important. And we're coming up to that 40th anniversary tomorrow. And actually, it was a Sunday, so it's really kind of 40 years from today, because it was a Sunday when the plane crash actually happened. But anyway, I am still going strong with this. The book itself, I have not done anything with, but these past couple of years have let me kind of, reflect on, what I'm researching and where I'm going with it. And I know what I want to do with the book if I ever do write it. It would be more of a personal journey of how I stumbled onto this, because it opened my eyes to so much in this world, like I was saying, with the esoteric type stuff. And anyway, I'll get back to that, but I want to make this video quick anyway, just to say I'm still here. I'm still I've got some low budget stuff going on. I'm in my car now, so I do have a house. I do live in a house, but it's been a rough couple of years. And so one thing that over these past couple of years, it was last year in September, there in the United Nations, they had something called the Summit of the Future 2024. And when that came out, I mean, not many people know about it. I think, like, the P. Diddy stuff was going on at that time, so it was really just under the radar. But this was a huge meeting by the United Nations, and I've talked about that before. And I do believe that they played heavily into Samantha's life. They may not have been there, like, physically, but what was going on with her, I think, was orchestrated by the United Nations. I think it was. But anyway, they had this Summit of the Future in 2024, and I read through the whole thing, and I really do encourage people to look at this, because this is what they're trying to do with the world itself. And I think as an American, you know, living here with the Constitution, they really are trying to replace the Constitution in the United States with what they've created with the United Nations, with the Charter and all that stuff. But anyway, go look at this. And what caught my attention, there's a lot of stuff in there, but what really caught my attention was a piece about talking about agents of change. And they specifically were talking about using children as agents of change. And it made me realize, you know, that's what Samantha was. And that's why I think that they played a huge part in her whole story and narrative. They were using her as an agent of change. And I think that's if I was going to write a book, that would be a great title for it, that Samantha was an agent of change. And they use, and what they're talking about when they say that is they're trying to use children to indoctrinate them into their way of thinking and what they want the world to be, and using children. And they specifically talk about it. It's not even something that's a secret, you know. And like I've said a million times, there's a lot of ethical issues with this type of thing, and I think that that's what Samantha was, and they used her for that. They used her as an agent of change, and you see what happened there. So, but anyway, like there's one guy that's commenting on my videos, and he was like blowing it up for a little while, and he's basically saying, you know, Samantha was a Charlie nobody kind of thing. And it made me think of what was that movie, Rosemary's Baby. And when she wanted to go to her own doctor, I don't know if people have seen that movie, I don't want to give it away. Very interesting movie. But Rosemary wanted to use her own doctor. It was like Dr. Hill or something like that. But obviously her husband was gaslighting her through the whole movie and basically making a deal with Satanists. And he wanted her to go to Dr. Saperstein. And it just made me think of that, like, because there's a scene where she's saying she wants to go to Dr. Hill. She's had it with Dr. Saperstein. And he goes, Dr. Hill's a Charlie nobody. And it makes me think of this guy. I don't know if he's just trolling or what he was doing, but he was like blowing up comments all over the place, saying that Samantha's basically a nobody. And fair, you know, if you want to say that, but she definitely was not a nobody. People like to say she wasn't intelligent, all of these things. She was very intelligent. She may not have been as much of the book smart type of intelligence that people think of intelligence when they talk about it, but she knew how to talk to people, especially older people. She was very comfortable around people who were older than her, you know, and she could carry conversations with these people. So she dealt with being on the world stage. I mean, not everybody can do that. But anyway, going back to her being a Charlie nobody, or you know, she's a nobody. She was heavily loved in the Soviet Union. I mean, you can't even deny that. She was huge there. Maybe in the United States, maybe other parts of the world, not as well known, but her story is important. And somebody else was talking about that they can't believe that she's not talked about more, and I agree. There's, you know, why... From what I can see, there are people talking about her, but it's very mainstream. I think I'm one of the few people that's going outside of the mainstream narrative with Samantha, but she was not a Charlie nobody. But I still appreciate comments from everybody, whatever they are, whether they disagree or agree. So I was humored by that. So, but anyway, back to the August 25th thing, which I was hoping to talk about. I will talk about one nugget of information with that date, and actually a couple, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. Anyway, so August 25th, so 40 years before Samantha died in her plane crash, there was a fellow named John Birch who was an intelligence, I don't know if he was an officer or whatever, in China, and he was murdered by communists in China. Now, this whole thing was covered up, and it was finally brought to the attention of the public by, I believe, William Noland was his name. He was a senator. He was actually really good friends with Lyndon Johnson. But anyway, he saw that they were covering this up, and he brought it to the attention of the Senate when they were talking about going into Korea, and he was talking about, you know, if Americans knew that this person was killed by communists, an American intelligence officer, they might not be as, you know, they basically they would be more inclined to be against the communist upheaval in China and in Korea, like all that. So so he talked about that. But anyway, he was killed on August 25th, 1945. And I would consider him, and I've seen it written by other people, that he was basically the first American casualty of the Cold War, because the Cold War started soon after that. My voice is getting very dry. Let me drink some coffee here. I don't know if that's going to help, but so he was the first American casualty of the Cold War. And 40 years later, Samantha, who was probably the last American casualty of the Cold War, died on the same day 40 years later. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. So the John Birch Society came out of John Birch, all of that. And actually, I've talked about him before. Interesting Books Reviewed. Great channel. I mean, he's blowing up now. He deserves it. And he just recently posted a video where he was talking about his father, saying, oh, that's John Birch stuff. Well, you know, this came out of this John Birch dying in 1945, August 25th. So it spawned that, which is a heavily anti-communist organization. They get thrown into the conspiracy theory realm and all of that. Hated by both the right and the left. But anyway, I was talking about that on his channel. But so if you haven't gone to his channel yet, you should. He's blowing up. He deserves all of it. Entertaining, intelligent, interesting, all of that wrapped into one. But anyway, going back to this, just the tip of the iceberg on about August 25th. There's a lot more going on here, and it goes all the way back. You know, we're talking, you know, almost 2,000 years, to be honest, with this date. And what am I thinking? You know, like the struggle between the sides, both sides, left and right, all of that. So anyway, so she died 40. So there's definitely something there, and I, you know, definitely thought, you know, there's something here, and that's what made me go into August 25th. But August 25th even goes into the esoteric side of things. It's a very significant date, and I've talked about what was the name of that organization? Peace Child, who wanted Samantha heavily, and she declined. I don't know if it was her parents, whoever. They wanted her to be the poster child of this organization. And their play, Peace Child, was set 40 years in the future from 1985. It was set in 2025. And here we are now, coming up. And Peace Child were in the Soviet Union giving their first performance of their musical play in the Soviet Union, in Artek, where Samantha was, with Gorbachev there, in 1985, August 25th, 1985. That's where they were, and just very significant. But it was set 40 years in the future. So here we are now, August 25th, 2025, when Peace Child. So it's a very significant date. I really wanted to talk about it and build up to it, but I didn't have the time. But I promise I'm going to get more videos out. I'm going to talk about, there's so much to talk about with Samantha's life. And I think I know where to come from, where I'm going with it, and how to piece it all together now over these past 2 years, where I haven't done a whole lot of research, but I've still been reading all kinds of material that's helping me understand really what's going on here. But anyway, this is longer than I thought it was going to be, and I went, I just wanted this to be a quick video to say, hey, I'm here, I'm still doing this. I may not be writing the book now. Hopefully when I retire, I'll have more time for that, but I am still looking into it. I am still researching it. I am still very invested in this, and really, I'm just kind of sending out a message. How I came to all this information, it was a journey, and I think when you look at any sort of event that happens, if you really dig into it deep enough, you're going to come to the same conclusions and the same organizations, people, ideologies involved in everything. And so it really did open my eyes, and I think really I just want to I don't know, send a message, I guess, with this, because it's very important. Samantha was very important. I don't care what that guy said. She was important, and it was a travesty. And really, it wasn't just her. I think that her father as well was probably targeted as well. I think that if Jane had gone to England instead of Arthur, and I think that Samantha really wanted her to, but she couldn't because she was going camping or something. If she had gone on that trip instead of Arthur, I don't think that they would have crashed that plane. I really don't. I think the fact that Arthur was there too, because if it was Jane and Samantha that had perished in that plane crash, I think Arthur was onto it. He was suspicious of these people. I think he would have been highly suspicious of that plane crash, whereas Jane, didn't question it as much, and she basically, went along with the very people who probably were involved or had a part in taking Samantha out. So that's my opinion with that, and I will definitely go into that in more detail. Robert Wagner, he's another one. Lime Street, all this stuff. I've got to talk about this. But anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up right now, and thanks for still coming to this channel. I know I haven't kept up with it at all, but I am still here, getting through this period of my life, and will hopefully get some more videos up, and hopefully someday, write the book too as well. But all right, I'm gonna end it there, and yeah, I'll be back. They'll probably be low budget, just talking in my car, whatever. I might just start going off about other things. One thing I haven't been doing is keeping up with current events, and I know Epstein and all that is really in the thick of things right now, but I haven't really kept up with all of that. But what's going on in Israel is of interest to me for sure, because I think there's more going on there than people realize. It goes back thousands of years. It's not as black and white, cut and dry as people think it is. But anyway, I'm gonna sign off here, and hopefully I'll get some more videos up. I'll start building to this August, even though August 25th is tomorrow. I'll still talk about it because it is very important, and I'll build up to it because it goes into deep esoterics. We're talking, I'll go into it in another point, but I just wanted to give an update, and hopefully I'll get some more stuff up. All right, take it easy. Take it easy. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Yeah.